Life has a way of testing the strength in our bones, the courage in our hearts, and the fire in our souls. It does not ask permission before it storms into our world, sweeping away the plans we laid so carefully, the dreams we nurtured so tenderly. There are nights when the weight of the world presses so heavy on our shoulders that we wonder if we will ever rise again. There are days when the road stretches too long before us, winding and twisting through uncertainty, and we question whether our feet can take one more step. We cry out in silence, hoping for an answer, yearning for a sign, craving for something, someone to hold on to. And yet, even in those darkest hours, even when the silence is deafening and the loneliness feels like a canyon too deep to cross, something unseen, something unshaken, something eternal is standing right beside us. It does not announce itself with thunder or reveal itself in flashes of light. It does not demand recognition or require proof of belief. It is simply there, a presence that lingers even when we do not have the strength to acknowledge it. It is in the stillness of the night, when tears stain the pillow and the heart trembles under the weight of sorrow, that you will begin to feel it. Not in grand miracles, not in loud declarations, but in the quiet moments where hope refuses to die. You may feel like you are walking alone, abandoned by the world, unseen and unheard. But oh, if only your eyes could glimpse beyond the veil of this reality, if only your spirit could grasp the truth resting just beyond reach, you would know you have never been alone, not for one single breath, not for one single moment. There will be times when life takes from you before you are ready to let go. It will steal dreams from your hands before you have had the chance to live them, pull people away before you have had the chance to say goodbye. You will look up at the sky with trembling lips and shattered hope, asking, why? Why must I bear this? Why must I carry a grief too heavy for my heart to hold? And the answer will not come in words etched in stone, nor in voices carried by the wind. It will come in the way the sun rises, steady and unbroken, even after the longest night. It will come in the way your heart beats, over and over, refusing to surrender, even when it feels like it should have stopped from the pain. It will come in the way you find strength, not because you sought it, but because it was placed inside of you before you even knew you would need it. Oh, how life will test you. It will push you to your knees, strip you of your certainty, leave you grasping at fragments of what once was. You will sit in the rubble of your own expectations, wondering how to rebuild, wondering if you even have the strength to begin again. And just when you believe there is nothing left within you, something stirs. A whisper in your bones, a fire in your belly, a force that rises up and says, get up. Not because the pain is gone, not because the journey has become easier, but because you were never meant to stay down. There is something in you that will not break. It may bend, it may crack, it may even feel like it is shattering into 1,000 pieces. But it will not break. It is the same force that keeps the stars burning in the heavens, the same force that keeps the oceans kissing the shore, the same force that keeps the trees stretching toward the sky, no matter how fierce the storm has been. It is in you. It has always been in you. It has carried you through every battle you thought you would not survive, through every night you thought would never end. It does not falter. It does not waver. It does not abandon. Some days you will feel it like a gentle hand on your shoulder, a warmth that tells you to breathe, to keep moving, to hold on just a little longer. Other days it will feel distant, silent, almost as if it has left you. But even then it is there. Even then it watches over you, waiting for the moment when you will remember that you are never truly lost, never truly alone. The road ahead will not always be easy. There will be times when the storms come without warning, when the winds howl so loud that you cannot hear your own thoughts, when the rain falls so heavy that you cannot see what lies ahead. But listen to me now. If the storm was meant to destroy you, it would have done so by now. If the fire was meant to consume you, you would have turned to ashes long ago. But you are still here. Even with the weight of 1,000 battles on your back, you are still here. Even with the scars of past wounds written across your skin, you are still here. And as long as you are here, there is something greater than the storm, greater than the fire, greater than the pain, keeping you standing. You do not have to understand it fully to know that it is real. You do not have to see it with your eyes to feel it in your soul. It does not operate on the timelines we set, nor does it answer to the demands we make. But when you least expect it, when you are at the edge of giving up, when you are sure that you cannot bear one more burden, you will feel it again, lifting, carrying, pushing you forward, reminding you that the story is not over yet. So do not turn away from the journey. Do not let the darkness convince you that there is no light left. Do not believe the voice that tells you that you are forgotten, that you are unseen, that you are unloved. You were never abandoned. You were never left to walk alone. Through every heartbreak, through every disappointment, through every battle, something has been standing beside you, holding you up even when you did not know you were being carried. And as long as you keep moving, as long as you keep breathing, as long as you refuse to surrender to the weight of despair, you will see. You will see that even in the deepest valley, even in the coldest night, even in the moments when you thought all was lost, something was there, standing by you, whispering, "Hold on, you are not alone. You have never been alone. You have never." There will be days when the silence feels louder than any storm, when the absence of answers weighs heavier than the questions themselves. You will reach out, hoping, waiting, pleading for something, anything, to show you that you are not forgotten, that your struggle is not unseen. And in those moments when all seems lost, you must remember that just because you cannot see the sun through the clouds does not mean it is not shining. Just because you cannot feel the wind does not mean it has ceased to blow. And just because you cannot hear the voice of reassurance does not mean you are not being held in ways beyond your understanding. The weight you carry may feel unbearable at times, the kind of burden that presses into your bones, that makes the air thick in your lungs, that turns joy into something distant, something foreign. You may feel like your knees will buckle beneath it, like you will not make it through the next hour, let alone the next day. And yet time and time again, you rise. You rise despite the exhaustion. You rise despite the pain. You rise despite the voice in your head that tells you to surrender. There is something within you, something mighty, something unshaken, something eternal that refuses to be crushed under the weight of your suffering. You may not recognize it yet. You may believe it is only your willpower, your stubbornness, your desperation that keeps you moving. But it is more than that. It is something that has been planted deep inside of you, something that was placed within you long before you faced your first storm. It is the same thing that lifts the morning sun after the longest night, the same thing that calls the tide back to shore after it has receded into the vast unknown. It is in you, working even when you do not feel it, guiding even when you do not see it, standing even when you believe you have been left alone. Pain has a way of making us forget. It clouds the memory of every time we have survived before, of every mountain we have climbed, of every night that once felt endless but eventually gave way to dawn. We forget that we have been here before, maybe not in the same way, maybe not with the same wounds, but we have stood at the edge of despair, looked out into the abyss, and still found a way forward. We have stumbled, we have fallen, we have wept and raged, but we have never truly been abandoned. Even when we thought we were walking alone, something was clearing the path before us, holding us steady when we felt we would collapse, whispering to our hearts, keep going. And so we do, not because we always understand, not because the pain suddenly vanishes, not because we have all the answers, but because something deep inside tells us we must. Because giving up is not an option, because surrender is not in our nature, because even when life takes everything from us, it cannot take the fire within us, the unbreakable part that refuses to be extinguished. That fire is the evidence, the proof, the unshaken reminder that we are not alone, that we have never been alone. The world will not always be kind. It will throw its storms, its trials, its heartbreaks in our direction. It will test our patience, our strength, our faith in the unseen. It will make us question who we are, what we stand for, and whether we can endure. But every challenge, every tear, every night spent in uncertainty is not a sign of abandonment. It is a testament to the presence of something greater standing beside us, ensuring that even in the breaking, we are not destroyed. Even in the waiting, we are not forgotten. Even in the darkness, we are not lost. Some will look at their pain and believe it is proof of absence, proof that they are on their own, proof that they have been left behind. But if you look closely, if you allow yourself to see beyond the sorrow, beyond the exhaustion, beyond the hurt, you will find that you are still standing, that the strength you thought you had lost is still within you, that the fire you believed had been extinguished is still burning, that the journey you thought had ended is still unfolding before you. And that is no accident. That is no coincidence. Have you ever noticed how even in the most desolate places, life finds a way? A flower blooming through a crack in the pavement, a tree standing tall in the middle of the storm, a river carving its way through mountains that should have been immovable. Life persists. It does not stop because of difficulty. It does not wither away because of struggle. It does not surrender to the forces that try to break it, and neither do you. There is something within you that is stronger than the storm, more enduring than the night, more powerful than the pain that tries to consume you. You have made it through things you once thought you wouldn't survive. You have carried burdens you once believed would break you. You have seen darkness, and still you are here. Still you breathe. Still you rise. And if that is not proof that something is carrying you through, that something has been standing beside you even in your weakest moments, then I do not know what is. The road ahead will not always be smooth. There will still be days when the weight feels too heavy, when the silence feels endless, when the questions seem to go unanswered. But if you have learned anything from the journey thus far, let it be this: you are never truly alone. No matter how fierce the storm, no matter how deep the valley, no matter how long the night, there is something beside you, within you, lifting you, guiding you, standing by you through it all. And as long as you keep moving forward, as long as you refuse to let go of the fire inside of you, as long as you continue to believe in the unseen, even when the seen tries to convince you otherwise, you will make it. Not by your strength alone, not by your willpower alone, but by the presence of something greater than the storm, greater than the pain, greater than any trial you will ever face, something that has never left your side, something that never will. There are moments in life when the walls close in, when the air grows thick with doubt, and when every step forward feels like dragging your soul through a river of stone. It is in these moments that you begin to wonder if the weight you carry is yours alone to bear, if the hands you reach for will ever meet you in return, if the ground beneath you will hold, or if it will open up and swallow you whole. Pain has a way of making the world feel smaller, of making hope feel like a distant echo instead of a living, breathing presence. But oh, how deceiving pain can be. How quickly it convinces you that you are forsaken, that you are forgotten, that you are wandering through the storm with nothing to shield you from its fury. You see, struggle does not announce itself with an invitation. It arrives unannounced, uninvited, and unrelenting. It does not wait for you to be ready. It does not pause for you to catch your breath. It does not soften its grip when you beg for relief. But even in its harshest moments, even when the ground shakes beneath you and the skies darken above, there is something standing beside you, something unshaken by the winds that rage, something unbothered by the waters that rise. It does not tremble when life becomes uncertain, does not flee when the battle grows fierce, does not leave when the rest of the world turns away. It remains, always, it remains. There will be nights when sleep will not come, when your thoughts will weigh heavy, when you will lie awake and wonder if the dawn will ever break through the darkness. There will be days when the world will feel too big, when the noise of it all will press into your mind and make you feel small. There will be hours, minutes, seconds when the fight will seem like too much to bear, when you will want nothing more than to let go, to sink into the silence, to surrender to the exhaustion that clings to your bones. But even in those moments, even when you feel you have nothing left to give, there will be something beside you, something holding you upright, something whispering in the quiet, not yet, not now, keep going. And you will, maybe not because you understand, maybe not because the path is clear, maybe not because you have all the answers, but because something greater than your doubt is pushing you forward, something that will not let you break, something that will not let you fall, something that will not allow the darkness to swallow you whole. It does not promise that the road will be easy, does not promise that the burdens will vanish, does not promise that life will only hand you gentle things, but it does promise that you will never carry your burdens alone. It does promise that there will always be something standing between you and the breaking point, something ensuring that even when you bend, you do not shatter. You have seen days that drained the light from your spirit, that took more from you than you thought you had to give. You have watched dreams slip through your fingers, watched plans unravel like thread, watched the things you built crumble under the weight of disappointment, and yet here you stand, not because the road was easy, not because the pain was light, but because there was something beside you, walking when you could not walk, carrying you when you could not stand, whispering strength into your soul when you thought you had none left. It has always been there, even before you had a name for it, even before you knew how to recognize it, even before you believed in it. It believed in you. It knew the mountains you would have to climb, the rivers you would have to cross, the storms you would have to endure. It knew the weight you would carry, the tears you would cry, the nights you would spend wondering if the dawn would ever come. And so it placed within you a strength that cannot be measured, a fire that cannot be extinguished, a resilience that cannot be explained. The world will not always understand your journey. There will be those who tell you to give up, those who doubt the steps you take, those who look at your struggles and question why you keep going. They will see your battle scars and mistake them for weakness. They will see your tears and mistake them for surrender. They will see your quiet moments and mistake them for defeat, but they will not see the presence beside you, the force that keeps you standing, the power that moves you forward even when your legs tremble beneath you. The road ahead will not be free of obstacles. The journey will still demand your strength, your patience, your unwavering trust in the unseen. There will still be moments when you will question everything, when the burden will feel heavier than you can bear, when the silence will stretch longer than you thought possible. But if there is one thing you must never forget, it is this: you have never walked alone. Not in your victories, not in your failures, not in your moments of joy, not in your seasons of sorrow. Every tear you have cried, every battle you have fought, every weight you have carried, none of it has gone unseen. None of it has been in vain. Even when the world does not notice, even when others do not understand, even when you feel like no one is listening, there is something that has been with you every step of the way, something that has never once left your side. It does not need recognition. It does not need acknowledgement. It does not need proof of its existence. It simply is. It simply remains. It simply stands. And so you move forward. You keep walking even when the road is long. You keep standing even when the weight is heavy. You keep believing even when the answers are unclear. You keep holding on even when the storm rages. Not because you have all the strength, but because you are never without it. Not because you have all the answers, but because you are never without guidance. Not because you see the path ahead clearly, but because something is clearing the way, lighting each step, ensuring that no matter how far you have to go, you will not have to go it alone. You were never promised a life without struggle, never promised a road without pain, never promised a journey without hardship, but you were promised presence. You were promised strength. You were promised that no matter how fierce the battle, how long the night, how heavy the burden, you would never carry it by yourself. That presence has walked with you through every trial, stood beside you through every hardship, lifted you through every moment of despair. It has never left. It never will. And so you continue, you press on, not because the journey is easy, not because the path is smooth, not because the answers come quickly, but because you are not walking alone. You rise not because the weight is light, not because the burdens have vanished, not because the struggles have ended, but because something greater than your pain is lifting you. You endure not because you are unbreakable, not because you are immune to sorrow, not because life has spared you its trials, but because you were never meant to fight alone. And through it all, in the quiet moments, in the raging storms, in the laughter, in the tears, in the victories, in the losses, there is something standing beside you. It is unshaken, unwavering, unmoved by the battles you face. It is the quiet whisper in the darkness, the gentle hand on your shoulder, the force that keeps your heart beating even when you think it will break. It is with you always, without question, without condition, without hesitation, without hesitation. And as long as you have breath in your lungs, as long as there is a fire in your spirit, as long as you have the will to take one more step, that presence will remain, always beside you, always carrying you, always standing, even when you cannot stand for yourself. There are days when the storm rages so fiercely, you wonder if the ground beneath you will hold, when the sky above seems endless in its darkness, when the air feels too thick to breathe, when every step forward feels like walking through a river that only rises higher. You may close your eyes and whisper into the silence, waiting for an answer, longing for a sign that you are not alone in this battle. And when the silence stretches too long, when the answer does not come in the way you expect, you may begin to believe that you have been left to fight on your own. But oh, if only you knew, if only you could see what has been standing beside you all this time, holding you up when you thought you would collapse, clearing a path before you, even when you could not see the way. You do not always notice it because it does not demand your attention. It does not call for recognition, does not plead for acknowledgement, does not shout its presence into the noise of your fear. It is not loud, but it is unwavering. It does not tremble beneath the weight of your burdens, does not falter in the presence of your sorrow, does not hesitate when the road ahead looks too long, too hard, too uncertain. It is there, in the stillness, in the quiet strength that pushes you forward when you have nothing left to give, in the gentle reminder that you are still standing, even when you thought you would have fallen. It is easy to mistake the struggle for abandonment. Easy to believe that if there is no hand pulling you from the fire, then there is no help at all. But sometimes the presence that stands beside you does not remove you from the storm, it strengthens you to withstand it. Sometimes it does not take away the battle, it equips you to fight it. Sometimes it does not erase the pain, but it ensures that the pain does not erase you. You have been here before, at the edge of breaking, at the border of surrender. You have seen the kind of sorrow that leaves its mark, the kind of fear that grips the soul, the kind of loneliness that makes the world feel too big, too empty, too silent. And yet, even then, you did not fall. Even then, you did not shatter. Even then, something held you together when everything inside you felt like it was coming undone. It is not by chance that you are still here. It is not by accident that your heart still beats, that your lungs still fill with breath, that your feet still find the strength to move forward. There is something greater at work, something unseen but unshaken, something silent but steady, something that has been with you in every tear you have shed, in every battle you have fought, in every moment you thought you could not go on. It did not leave when you questioned, did not turn away when you doubted, did not abandon you when you felt too weak to believe. It stood by you just as it stands by you now, just as it always will. The world will not always be kind. It will hand you losses that feel unbearable, will place mountains before you that seem too steep to climb, will send storms that threaten to consume everything in their path. But through it all, there is something beside you that does not waver, something that does not bow to the forces that seek to bring you down. It does not disappear when the road gets hard, does not weaken when your faith does not abandon you when you feel abandoned by everything else. You may not always understand why the storm must come, why the road must be so hard, why the night must stretch so long before the morning arrives. But even in the not knowing, even in the unanswered questions, even in the moments when the weight feels too heavy to bear, you must remember that you are not carrying it alone. You are not fighting this battle with your strength alone. You are not walking this road with your willpower alone. There is something greater moving with you, something that does not let you fall, something that ensures that no matter how strong the wind, no matter how fierce the waves, no matter how dark the night, you will not be lost. Look back for a moment. Look at the days when you thought you would not make it, the nights when the sorrow felt too deep, the moments when you were certain you could not survive the weight of it all, and yet you did, not because the battle was easy, not because the pain was light, not because you had all the answers, but because something carried you through. Because when you were too tired to move forward, something moved for you. Because when you were too broken to stand, something held you together. Because when you had lost all strength, something placed within you a fire that refused to be extinguished. That fire still burns. It is there deep within you, waiting, watching, unwavering. It does not fade when the storm rises. It does not flicker when doubt creeps in. It does not go out when the world tries to drown it in sorrow. It remains, just as the presence beside you remains, just as the strength within you remains, just as you remain. You may be weary, you may be tired of the fight, tired of the waiting, tired of the questions that seem to go unanswered, but hear me now, you are not finished. The road does not end here. The battle is not over. The story is still being written, and you are still standing in the middle of its pages. And there is something standing beside you, making sure that even when you feel like you have reached the end of yourself, you will find a way to keep moving forward. You do not have to see it to know it is there. You do not have to hear it to know it is speaking. You do not have to understand it to trust that it is working. You only have to keep going, keep moving, keep believing, even when belief feels impossible. Keep rising, even when the weight tries to hold you down. Keep trusting, even when the road stretches longer than you ever imagined. Keep holding on, even when your hands grow tired. For every tear you have cried, there is something beside you, gathering them in quiet understanding. For every burden you have carried, there is something beside you, making sure you do not collapse beneath its weight. For every fear you have faced, there is something beside you, whispering courage into your soul. You do not have to do this alone. You never have, you never will. And so you walk forward, not because the path is easy, not because the burdens are light, not because the storm has ceased, but because something is walking with you, something that does not let you fall, something that does not let you break, something that does not leave no matter how fierce the battle, no matter how long the night, no matter how weary the soul. You have never been alone, not in your sorrow, not in your fear, not in your moments of deepest despair. You have never been forgotten. You have never been forsaken. And no matter what lies ahead, no matter what storms may come, no matter how many times you stumble along the way, you never will be. Through every storm, every battle, every silent night of questioning, you were never alone, even when you could not see it, even when you doubted its presence. Something unwavering stood beside you, carrying you when you had no strength, lifting you when you thought you would fall. The journey was never promised to be easy, but you were promised that you would not walk it alone, and that promise remains. So, when the road stretches long, when the burdens feel unbearable, when the world grows too heavy, remember. Remember that you are held, guided, strengthened by something greater than fear, greater than pain, greater than the uncertainty that fills the air. Keep walking, keep believing, keep rising, for no matter how fierce the winds may blow, no matter how dark the night may seem, you are never forsaken, never forgotten, and never without the strength to carry on.